you a shout out, Todd, because like a lot of people might not know how long you've been in the game for. I mean, Todd, you've been in the game since day one, and not a lot of people might not know it. It's to me, when I see all these guys in the game, I always, I just go, man, you don't know what the game is about because you ain't even been in it. When I see guys like you involved, still involved, and like these new jacks come in, like they may not give you your respect, and they need to give you your respect because you've been in the game just as long as anybody. You know what I'm saying? So, if y'all out there, y'all better recognize Todd been in the game since day one.
All right, this is Todd Atkins, and I'm here with Shea Filling. And I appreciate you taking time to come on here and tell me your stories and stuff. And for anybody watching this, YouTube has a new function where you can hit a hype button, which you go down to the first comment and swipe left, and it'll give you a hype button, and it kind of helps smaller creators push their video in the algorithm. So check that out. Shay, I was watching an interview you did where you're kind of talking about your early background in life. So I kind of wanted you to maybe talk about that before we kind of get into the combat sports part.
Sure. Well, I started out really as a model. I went to school for communication broadcasting at East Stroudsburg University, and my whole dream was to work on television. And I would say within the last year, I've recently been putting myself in the sports world, but this was not on my, list. I If somebody asked me like, you think would you ever be in this sports world? It was never really something I really saw myself doing. But uh, recently I this whole passion, this adrenaline, I guess you could say, from being at these events is just something that I really love, and it's been growing, and I'm just gonna see where it takes me. But ultimately, working on television and meeting celebrities, going to these events, and then doing the interviews, and you've seen the interviews I've done, which honestly are really surreal, that I've gotten the people like Mike Tyson, Joey Merlino, just a lot of really interesting people that it's wild. Honestly, it's really wild. But uh, my life has just been a lot of crazy moments, and it's just the beginning. I'm only 29, and it's just kind of growing. So uh, my life, I don't know how to explain it other than it's just crazy. It's crazy. It's
I know you
surreal.
had some hardship that, you went through. I was
Yes.
kind of interested about hearing about, because you don't know too many people that live on the street, for example. Um, Maybe
Yeah,
talk about that a little bit.
sure. Yeah, this was 2015 at the time. Family's home was foreclosed on right after I graduated high school. Uh, it's a really difficult time in my life. I went into like a really add depression looking back on it. Practically was homeless, living in a tent with my family in Boise, Idaho. We'd moved to, and uh, in those moments, I didn't know what was going to happen. I just, in my mind, I was like, there's something more in this life. There's more. Like, I wasn't put here. I'm not going to stay in this place. I just knew there was something better for me, and I guess the faith, and not like my faith was really what kept me going at that time. But I just, I met some people along my journey. I met George Lopez, the comedian,
Oh, wow, yeah.
and I went to one of his shows. Actually, in New York, I met him at a book signing at, I think it's called Wine 92. And, I just connected with him on Twitter at the time. uh, became friends with him, and I basically told him, I was like, I want to work for you. I'd love to work on in Burbank, where you film your show. And just he told me to be fearless. He told me to be fearless and to go for it. And there was just other people along my journey, another producer, Paul, who worked for Extra with Mario Lopez, another person that told me to go for it. I asked him, I said, you've worked with everybody in the industry. Uh, do I have what it takes to make it in this industry? And we did a test run in Hollywood, the Chinese theater. We filmed
Hmm.
something, and he basically told me, like, you can do this. If you keep at it, you could do well. So, those little things of meeting these powerful people in the industry young. I was like, 13, 14 years old at the time. That really impacted my life. So when I heard it from them, I was like, you know what? I believe in myself. I'm gonna go as far as I can with this. So uh, you know, it's just the whole belief in yourself, knowing like I can do this, no matter what, no matter where you put me at, I'll make it. So I always had that mentality, even being homeless at that time. It was just a part of the chapter of my life that I had to go through, and it builds your character. I think it was necessary for me to go through that because
At that age, were you still going to school and stuff, or no?
I had to take a semester off.
Mhm.
So that was I don't think I ever spoke about this. I did take a semester off. I was accepted to Ringling University. It's an art school. I was working on my art portfolio, had everything perfect, got accepted, and I couldn't go, and it was devastating. And you imagine all your closest friends, they're going to their universities, everybody's, and then there's me in this situation where I'm not telling anybody about my life. I'm not telling my girlfriends I'm homeless. Like, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. So it was kind of like a moment where I was really isolated, and I don't wish that on anybody. It was really very tough. But I think once I got through that, it was like everything else is easy from here on out. It just becomes easier.
Right. Plus, pursuing things when you're in that situation. I always tell people because I was in the military, and sometimes they say, "Oh, I don't see how some like I was on submarines." And then, how can you live underwater for months at a time? You know? And I always tell them it's easy to do something if you don't have a choice. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? And that's
It's all
you could
mental.
you could either stay in that situation or you don't have a choice. You have to. I said you'd be amazed what you can do when you don't have a choice. You
Yes.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was part of the journey, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Really, it made me who I am, and I think it makes for a good story. You know,
Yeah.
the people that come from nothing and make something of themselves. I mean, maybe if I didn't have that beginning, maybe I wouldn't be where I am. Maybe I wouldn't be as driven, and I want to be at all these huge events and covering with the biggest names. I mean, I don't know where that came from, really.
I see you've done so many things. Like, tell me your first, like, after that time, your first, maybe where you feel like you got your first break.
Um, well, I think the modeling was a big deal. Getting on a magazine, Times Square, billboard, that was a pretty big deal. Um, I think most recently, though, being next to like Mike Tyson, that was a big deal because I don't really get nervous a lot. Well, I mean, I get nervous because it's excitement for me, but I think yeah, Mike Tyson, that was a big one. Uh, Cuba Gooding Jr., that was a big deal. Oscar winner, like
Oh yeah, he's been in a lot of great movies. Hmm.
people were telling me you're not gonna be able to do this interview. And I literally just went up and I was like, hey, can I interview you? And he said yes. I was like, so I think those moments when they tell you you can't do this, even for Mike Tyson, they said you can't interview him. I went up to Mike Tyson and I said, I want to, can I interview you? And he shook my hand and he didn't grab, he grabbed my hand and he wouldn't let go. Like,
Mm.
so, it was a little intimidating. Everybody's watching you and you're in that moment, but that's your time to shine. And everybody's that I got the interview, and of all the people in the media, then nobody else got the interview that day. It was only me in that room. So it was
No one
pretty
wanted to
cool.
walk up to him. Is that what it was?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an independent journalist. I'm not with any other media. I cover for my own show. So, uh, you know, you just have to make the opportunity what it is when you're in those situations. But everyone else was very starstruck. I mean, it was crazy. I've never seen so many police in my life in one room.
Yeah, I mean, I first saw him fight. I think he fought Marvis Frazier, who was um, he was Joe Frazier's son, and he probably wasn't even he wasn't 21 at that time. I know that because he turned champion at 21, and so he wasn't champion yet. So yeah, I was watching him when I was like not even high school age, you know, because I remember I was living in Saudi Arabia at the time. My dad worked there, and
Wow.
I was there up till sixth grade, so I know it wasn't any older than like sixth grade age, you know.
Well, actually, going back to the question, now when I think about it, I think what really got me into this was actually, I'm sorry, the interview that I did with Khalil Ali really, really got me into this because I had, I wasn't around when Muhammad Ali was, I wish I would have been alive during that time, but I did what any other person would do. Watched every movie, interview, book as much as I could to really prepare for Khalil Ali. But I think watching so many videos of Muhammad Ali and kind of trying to put my mind, like putting myself into that, the mindset and everything that goes into the sport. I have so much love and passion for boxing that I didn't know I had. And then it kind of one thing after the next, after Khalil Ali, that went viral, it actually impacted the election. That was crazy because then I was like, wow, there's a lot of like I can impact the world
Mhm.
because it went all over. Everybody was talking at the time, and then the next thing I knew, I went to a Panthers hockey game here in Florida. After the game, I got an Uber ride. The guy that picked me up, the driver, was a BKFC fighter. I didn't even know what BKFC was. I was like, what is this
Yeah.
BKFC? I know of like UFC, but then I looked him up and then I'm seeing online Conor McGregor's talking about him and I'm like, holy shit, I got to get on this. So then I immediately interviewed him. I was so invested in his story. And I mean, I got obsessed because, I heard hit like I just watched him and I felt almost, and this kind of sounds crazy, but I wasn't alive during the time of Muhammad Ali. But
Mhm.
for me, it's like almost like discovering the next big thing in sports. And I believe he will be. And that's the crazy thing. And I put the prediction out there. And then Conor McGregor, I was at the New York press conference, and I immediately put that prediction out there to Conor McGregor because I see that happening, that he's gonna win that tournament, that $25 million tournament that David Feldman. Well, hopefully, if they have this tournament, some people are saying it's not going to happen. Some people are saying they are going to. I don't know what, but I when I saw him train and just being around him and studying these people like Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali, there's something that he has that it takes me right back to them. Like there's something in him, and now everybody's talking about him. Now everybody's talking about him. Everybody wants to interview him. But I knew when I met him, this guy's gonna be he's gonna be huge. he'll probably be the biggest thing. So,
What piqued your interest in the combat sports? Like, what was your first introduction to it? I always ask people this. Where was the first, this is what I saw, and this is how I got into this, or how I started following combat sports?
um, I just like Dana White. I like he's a cool guy. I hope I plan on eventually at some point I'll probably meet him. I haven't gotten the opportunity yet, but at some point I'd love to. It's a matter of the right timing. Uh I mean, I'd love to be at the White House event, which that's I don't know. You got to have a major connection for that. But
Probably.
Dana White is he's an interesting guy. He's he stands out to me like somebody that he has he knows what he's doing. Obviously, I just I guess the press conferences watching him, I was glued to that. I'd like to be at one of the press conferences. I just have not been able to. I haven't gotten a press pass yet, to be honest.
What do you know about Dana White? Like, you say you're interested in, what do you know about his background?
No, I'm interested in people that are successful and the
Oh, okay.
mindset. And he doesn't take no for an answer, and that's what I respect. And he knows how to build a company, and people can love or hate him, but you have to respect the guy and what he's built.
Yeah, he was a manager for Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz. This is probably late 1990s, I want to say.
But you know
And
more than I do, so.
yeah, so he was his friends. He went to high school with the Fertitta brothers who owned Station Casino. And when I don't know if you heard, he got pushed out of Boston by the mob. I don't know if you heard about that. Like, basically, what happened was, if you ever watched the Black Mass movie, Whitey Bulger,
Mhm.
so he was kind of controlling that area, and Dana White was teaching like cardio fitness, at the time. And this guy, Kevin Weeks, who worked for Whitey Bulger, came into his place and told him, hey, you got to give us some money if you're going to do this, you know. And I think he asked him for 10 grand at the time, and he had no money, 10 grand should have been 10 million to him. That's what he said. And he asked him for it, and didn't come up with it. He was avoiding the guy, and then the guy called his house. He got his
Wow.
number and called his house. He said, "I want this money. Tomorrow you're going to give it to me." And he just bolted to Vegas at that point. He got on the first plane out of Boston because he went to high school with the Fertittas, and that's how he got into the combat sports world. Boxing, and when the UFC, he was talking to Bob Merowitz, who ran the UFC before they bought it. He worked for SEG, Semaphore Entertainment Group is what it was called. And, they're kind of in argument over Tito's purse. He's saying, we want this much. And Bob was saying, I don't have any money. Like, I don't even know how I'm going to do more shows. And when they hung up the phone, he called the Fertittas and said, I think we can buy this organization. So they were really the ones financially that kind of were able to make that happen, were the Fertittas. And that's kind of how he got into it.
I mean,
Yeah. So now
I,
you know.
everybody talks a lot about. I mean, there's a lot of shady deals.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff. That's probably the most talked about thing I hear from a lot of these athletes. A lot of people saying they're not getting paid enough, and some people aren't
Hmm.
getting paid, and
Yeah.
it's always going to be like that. No matter, unfortunately, it's just it's a business, and people are greedy, and sadly, it's like I mean, I don't know. Even with what's going on, I mean, Jake Paul, he's got a big fight coming up this week. I'll be at the
Yeah.
press conference. People have a lot of opinions on that whole thing and with what happened with Mike Tyson, and it's marketing, it's entertainment. At the end of the day, people are, they're betting this whole Hard Rock
Yeah.
bet. I mean, things people don't even have to. You don't even have to go to a casino anymore. You can literally. bet from your phone. So I mean, things have changed. It's different. Even in Vegas, I hear
Yeah.
it's not like what it used to be. Things have, so uh, I mean, I love the entertainment. I love being where everybody's at in that room. All the people are tuning in and being front row where the action is. So for me, that's what I live for. I love it. So to be able to
Just tell me
interview.
how you start doing like your first combat sports event. Tell me how it kind of picked up for you to where you're going to Jake Paul's event or you're going to this. Kind of tell how you progressed.
The first one for me was the BKFC. That was the first event that I really got into at the Hard Rock. Um, and then once I did the interview with Leonardo Perdomo, and then David Feldman put it up, and Conor McGregor put it up, that kind of built me. And then uh, you know, I just keep, I send the emails and the people get back and they put me wherever. I mean, this thing is, I, I have mixed feelings about this Jake Paul fight. I don't, it's hard to say at the moment. Um, what do you think about it? Curious.
Well, I mean, if anything happens other than Paul getting knocked out pretty quickly, I would not. I'd be suspicious because
Does
I
it
mean
look like a
he
fair,
blew Ngannou right out of there with no problem.
does it
You
look
know,
like a fair fight to you between him and the other guy?
no, I mean in under normal circumstances it wouldn't be.
Yeah, because the other guy that was supposed to fight him, who whatever legal, I forget what happened legally, something happened.
Javante Davis, yeah,
That seemed like a fair, like a more, this other guy, I don't know,
Anthony
something
Joshua.
about it, something about it kind of,
He killed Ngannou in no time flat. I mean, did you watch it? He just blasted Ngannou right out of there, no problem. Yeah, dropped him once, and then as soon as he got up, he just walked across the ring and just threw one straight right and knocked him out cold. He's a great fighter, Anthony Joshua. He's had some difficult fights here and there, but I mean, he was an Olympian.
yeah.
He's a guy who's been fighting his whole life in boxing. And he's fought in huge events. And it's like Tyson Fury's dad said, if he doesn't knock him out quickly, I'd be suspicious of any other outcome because I just don't feel like Jake Paul would have any chance to beat him at all.
You gotta
That's the
give
thing that, yeah,
you gotta give Jake Paul credit though, because this guy is training every day. Like I
yeah,
believe
he is.
he's that's all. He's a beast. He's in there like 24/7. You see the way, but the
I think
more
maybe Netflix may have said, "Look, we did this Tyson fight. That was kind of like we weren't happy with that." I think that's what they told him because the ratings were great. Obviously, a ton of people watched it,
oh yeah.
but it wasn't the fight that people had hoped.
Actually, the women's fight
Yeah,
that
absolutely,
that was
absolutely.
really good. That one I was
Serrano and
watching.
Taylor, yeah, yeah, and I think they said, "Look, we want something better this time." You know,
Yeah, I mean they made their money. Made like what 40 million on that.
yeah,
They made their money. I mean, let's do the real thing now.
yeah.
Let's yeah. Because the marketing side, they're a genius. Those brothers, the marketing, you gotta give them credit. The constant, like even the videos they post. I think one of those, it was pretty funny. I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, but Jake, he backed into a Bugatti. Like some of this stuff is just crazy. It's so realistic, but like the imagination, the creativity that he he gets to, just the marketing aspect is really neat. I like it, definitely.
And also, he fought Tyson Fury's brother. That was the one time he fought someone who's like the same size and maybe the same experience level. And Tyson Fury's brother, it was a decent fight, but he won the fight handily, I feel like. And
Yeah,
Anthony Joshua's like miles ahead of Tyson Fury's brother, like not even the same stratosphere, you
yeah.
know? So
It'll be interesting. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I'm going to be posting a lot. That'll be a good one.
Oh
Can't wait.
yeah, it's a huge exposure and stuff in as far as you go. I mean, that's massive to be able to do that stuff. And that's what I'm saying, like this progression that you've made. You just feel like it's because you're reaching out and people are responding. But maybe having Feldman and McGregor post that stuff might help you.
Oh yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure. Definitely. Gregor, that was a big deal for me. That was a big deal. That really got me excited when he put it up because he's another person that I really admire, regardless of what anybody says. I don't care. This
Right.
guy, him and Tyson, that was they posted. I guess they're doing some kind of business deal. Uh, but yeah, just yeah, the BKFC that was the beginning for me. And then now I think they have a pretty big fight coming out in Philadelphia. I think it's this month, if I'm correct. I think it should be coming. I posted it. I think if it's this week, I'll double check. There is a fight coming up in Philadelphia, which will be it's a Knuckle Mania. I don't know if you follow the Knuckle
I do
Mania.
watch some BKFC fights. I feel like it's something where I feel like they should go after boxing more. Look, we are boxing, but more extreme,
Yeah,
and not the UFC. They don't need to. We're boxing, but this is, you know, we have more extreme rules. I had DeMarcus Corley on. He was a longtime professional boxer. He fought Floyd Mayweather, fought all kinds of people. And he fought in BKFC one time. He got injured. He injured his shoulder. But saying this is totally different. That's what he's saying. You're right next to him when it starts, and they say, yeah, knuckle up.
yeah.
It's not like you're here and here, in the corner. You're right here. He's like, it's a fight, you know.
Well, the thing is that people like when I bring up, they'll say, "Oh, like when I tell people, oh, I do you know BKFC?" And there's some people that do know, and then there's some people that don't. And when they hear that I attend, they're like, "Oh, you're into that. You're into that violent,
Mhm.
bloody." I'm like, it's a sport. At the end of the day, these people like dedicate their whole lives. I mean, it is gruesome. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there's some fights I'm like, whoa, this is painful to watch. I know the most recent one at the Hard Rock, that one guy, I forget his name. When I was at the press conference, I said this is like a highlight of the fight, and his fight was pretty intense. I mean, I remember sitting in my seat and just like, whoa, man, this is crazy stuff.
Mhm.
But the people in the crowd are standing up, and it's just something new that people are just like, it's the next big thing. It really is. It's the fastest growing sport right now. I believe on the verge of $1 billion, probably within the next. I think they're around 400 million right now, or probably more than that. But since Conor McGregor joined David Feldman, that thing just went. It just and then they have a lot of big things coming up. I believe there's like a docu series or something with Mark Wahlberg. Everybody wants to be a part of this now. You know,
Yeah.
it's
I think
crazy.
even MMA fighters are like, okay, that's a little too much. You know what I mean? Even guys in the UFC are like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna, because they're afraid of getting their face sliced open, from the bare knuckles. Like Chris Lieben, he used to fight in the UFC, and I trained with him when I lived in Hawaii. And I was talking to him, and he's like, man, this is like even just training for it. Like when you're sparring, you can't spar like this, or you're gonna bust your face open sparring with somebody else. He's like, I try to use these puffy gloves, but the range is totally different even when you don't have a glove on. He's saying it's such a challenge just to prepare, you
yeah.
know, because
Well, I
of
mean, it
having
took
no glove on.
it is crazy. I mean, like I knew what did it take David Feldman. I think it took like 10 years to get this regulated. I mean, we're going back to we're going back in time really to
Hmm.
it's I like I said, it's pretty gruesome. I don't. no other way to say it. It's entertainment. People want to be entertained, and unfortunately, I mean, you go on Netflix, what's like the top trending shows? Like people like violent stuff. I mean, that's what it is.
The other
But
thing is you have to be careful, like you're saying, how hard you hit someone. Because if you don't have a glove on, you can break your hand a lot easier. Though it's
they're
gruesome,
risking their
yes,
life. I
because of the
mean, come on.
blood,
They're risking
but
their
they're
life.
not. Yeah, yeah.
They're signing their life away. I mean, they know what they're getting themselves into. And
Oh,
for
yeah.
this is, I mean, football, that's pretty, I mean, you can get hurt no matter what you do. But I agree with you. Uh, people want to be entertained at the end of the day. That's what it is. And I just want to be where the action is. And right now, I see BKFC as that, and UFC, I think needs to really watch out because I yeah, I think Dave Feldman told him, what's his name? Uh, shoot, I just blanked. Who owns who owns UFC? I just blanked out.
Dana White.
Dana White.
Well,
He told him,
TKO owns it, but yeah,
"See you at the
Dana
top."
White's the promoter. Yeah,
He said, "See you at the top,"
yeah.
and I just see it. I see it all happening. It's just little by little.
Have you talked to Sean Wheelock yet? He's one of the announcers for BKFC.
I
Great
no, I
guy,
don't
man.
think so.
Yeah,
No.
Sean Wheelock lives in Kansas. I live in Oklahoma, but he was really close with the original guy who created the UFC, Art Davie, the first UFCs, and yeah, he's a great guy, man. I've had him on my show a bunch of times. Awesome guy.
How was it like in the early days of UFC? Like in the very
I think
beginning?
it's very much like BKFC, which is what you're into, because in the early days, the fighters, I think they were more close because they didn't know what they didn't know what they're getting themselves into. It was kind of like space exploration. That's what Eddie Millis called it. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to train for this stuff. And guys, Chris Lieben told me this happening backstage at BKFC events. Are you punching sand? What are you doing with your hands? People are asking each other still, like,
Hmm.
how are you preparing? They're still trying to figure out how to do this the most effective way. And that's what it was in the early FCs, I think. Obviously, the first ones, you're kind of trying to see which arts would be most effective. But they're also trying to see how can I train for this? How do I learn this jujitsu stuff? Or how should I approach this? This is something I've never done before. You know, I don't, how do we prepare for this? And a lot of guys were training together, even guys that were into fighting, that might end up fighting each other, were training together because they were trying to figure out how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say that's where the similarity was between BKFC and the early UFCs.
I just watch the crowd and I see the way the people react. And I've been to Newark, I've been to the Hollywood, Florida. I haven't been to the one in Philadelphia. I know that one's their biggest, crowd. I would have loved to have been at that one, but I just from watching it from somebody that just loves it, but then also as a spectator, uh, man, it's just I even brought my mom to a fight, just to
Yeah.
kind of show her the world, just see, hey, this is what I, do. And she was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, and then now everybody likes it. So I mean but I think once they, became really we're not just focusing in the US, we're global. We're going to Italy, we're going to Dubai, and then you're seeing all that, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is gonna do really well. And the speed, but then some people may say, okay, the how fast we're moving, maybe that's not good because it's the fastest
Mhm.
growing, but they're doing something right. They're definitely it's David Feldman is somebody I really respect. I've been to many press conferences. I love the guy, his story. He's just got that determination that no matter what he does, no matter what he touches, it's gonna do well. So that's why I just believe in this company. He's it it's definitely going to be the next big thing, and that's why I talk about it so much. That's why I'm so obsessed about it.
Do you think
Unless
that's going to be like your bread and butter as far as covering events? Maybe that'll be the one you cover the most.
oh, I'd love it to be. I've already pretty much I've spoken on the local news where I'm from. I put it out there. I would love to be the face of this company. I would love to bring more women because as much as the sports world, there is, other women. There's not a lot. There's not a lot. And I felt really welcomed by the BKFC. A lot of great people in the community, a lot of really great people, and a lot of cool stories. And you just feel an energy that I haven't felt in other places. I mean, I've been in the fashion world, New York Fashion Week, and but then in this whole community, it's just there's just so much support and love, and you just feel it in that room, and um, there's just nothing else like it. There's nothing else like it, and I don't get excited about a lot of things anymore. And when I'm at the event, I get really excited, and I get so invested in some of these fighters. I really do. Like Leonardo, I'm so invested in him. And there's other people that I haven't mentioned, but you just it, there's something about it. I can't really put it into words, but I'd like to add some value, add something that something like with all that I've covered, all the experiences that I've had in my life, uh, and the love that I have for this sport. I hope that David Feldman watches the journey, and I keep putting it out there. And I love being with the fans. That's another thing. I really love the fans at these events. So I'm just going to keep putting it out there. Just keep putting it
Yeah, I
out
see.
there.
I see it. This is another thing that was similar in the early days. Like
Honor,
you have
honor.
such a passion for wanting to help it.
Yeah, no,
You know what
and
I mean? And
thing
that's
for
something
me.
that they kind of challenged us to do in the early days. You need to do something for the sport, not just watch it, because that's the only way we can grow. Is if you fans out here tell other people about it, or do something to get it noticed.
Well,
So there's more
also,
ownership of it.
yeah, but
You know
also
what I
like
mean?
somebody like me who, I would say I'm like more like glamorous. I like, I love fashion. Feminine, but also, put me in that world, and you're like, where's she? It's like we're,
Mhm.
but you're still like you're, multi-dimensional, or you're showcasing that anybody can love this. Anybody, somebody like me can love it, and you know, when was what year did women start? What was the year in boxing, the first female, or what was that year, like women really, you would say, in history?
Uh, the
Because
first
it's
one that
not
I
that
saw,
long.
there were two that had some popularity in my younger years, which was Mia St. John and Christy Martin.
Yeah,
Christy Martin, those two, Mia St. John and Christy Martin. So those are the first two I saw where they were getting on some undercards of, people that were well known on pay-per-views, and they were getting on those undercards. And Christy Martin was just kind of a lot like Katie Taylor, would just go out there and just brawl with anybody, and that's why people like to watch her. The coal miner's daughter, that's what they called her, and
yeah.
she every fight she had was just a war, you know. And Mia St. John
That
was more like
wasn't
the pretty girl, she was a
that
kickboxer
wasn't
too.
that long ago. Sorry, that wasn't that long ago though. We're
Yeah,
talking what, early 90s,
yeah,
or
yeah.
that's not
And
long ago.
Lucia Riker also was another one who was a former kickboxer that had turned. So those three, I would say.
I mean, I would like to bring more females into the sports world. I think that would be into the BKFC. I just it's something I really enjoy watching. I really do. I look forward to every fight, and I want to bring something that hasn't been. I want to do something that hasn't been done in the sports world. So we'll see. It's I'm here for a reason.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, it's an interesting way to approach it. You're not just saying, "Oh, I'm going to go and cover it." You're wanting to do more than that,
yeah.
you know.
I mean,
I want
I
to do something that other people haven't done. That's the way you're looking at it.
oh yeah, the next one is next interview would be Conor McGregor. That's coming up. It's coming up.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy there, right?
Well,
One of the guys there.
exactly, but I already put my prediction out, and I know it's going to come true. And we've been in different. I mean, we've been close by. I've been in. It's just a matter of timing. But I would like to interview Conor McGregor and Dana White. That's the next one. So
Yeah.
Dana White is the challenge. That guy. I'm not in Vegas, but it's hard to get with Dana. He's difficult. That's a challenge there.
Yeah. Yeah, but you'll get there if that's what you want to do. There's other people doing it.
Yeah,
Why not you? You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
True.
If you decide to go there or whatever. But Florida's a hot place to be.
No, I'm
That's where
staying
you're
put.
at,
No,
right?
they're all
Yeah.
coming here. Everybody's coming
Yeah.
here.
Yep. Florida's.
I
Where are
never
you?
been
Where are you in Florida?
Miami.
Oh yeah. Wow.
No, no, every week there's something going on here. Almost like every day. It's crazy every day. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go to
Right.
Hollywood, California. Forget Hollywood. This is Hollywood. This is the new Hollywood. You run into people every day, everywhere you go. I don't even try. It's just it, it's easy. You know what I mean? It's super easy now. You come out here. Um, but yeah, like I'm pushing as far as I can go. And I would say about 99% of the things that I've wanted to do, I've done it already. I've made it happen. So, uh, it's you got to have something in life that challenges you to want to wake up every day and keep going. And for me right now, this definitely is that. The sports world is that. And I
So
and
you
I'm
doing
involved.
any other sports besides combat sports or no?
Uh, what else did I do? I did cover for PFL, the one I did one. That's
Yeah, I
another
did see that.
PFL, but they don't have a lot of fights here in US. It's all over. They were in Dubai, somewhere else, I forget recently. That's another one that was really cool. Um, what else? Karate combat. That was
Oh yeah.
Ever been to that. I'd like to. Oh, there's a fight going on this month in Dubai. What is it with what's his name? Andrew Tate. Not if you're
The
I don't know
influencer.
if you're
Yeah.
keeping an eye on that, but I wish I could be in Dubai for that because I'd like to watch that one. I don't know. Is it kind of like what's happening with the Jake Paul, kind of the a big marketing tactic, or is this like
I'm not up to speed on it. I saw him sparring for something, but I didn't know what he was, if he was just sparring, but I didn't know he had a fight actually
I
until
think
you
he
just
owns
told
the
me.
company Misfits, if I'm correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I look it up right now, but yeah, I think it's called Misfits. I
I
think
know
he
one of
owns
the guys who fights on
it.
there, Salt Pappy. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's Filipino. My wife's Filipino, so sometimes I reach out to him and because he 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 knows because I make some jokes about Filipinos and stuff. And yeah, I kind of I we message sometimes because I used to follow him on TikTok before he would box, and I'd always make some comments about Filipinos and stuff because my wife's Filipino. I visit the Philippines a lot, and that's where I want to retire in a few years. And so I was always making some remarks, like he was a nurse before, like every Filipino's a nurse, so I was like laughing about it. that he was a nurse before he started doing all this misfit stuff, and I was like, yeah, that
Mm.
figures. Which he laughed about. When I
Yeah,
make these comments, these snide comments on his pages.
yeah, I don't know. It's in the yeah. It says Misfits Mania: The Fight Before Christmas. Andrew Tate versus Chase D. Moore.
Yeah,
Heavyweight title.
Misfits is interesting because they kind of have these hybrid boxing fights between all sorts of, run-of-the-mill people. Some are experienced, some are not. It's kind of interesting. It is interesting. So,
I just keep. I'm just watching like I'm on my phone like 24/7. Just what's going on? Where's everybody at? What's big? And it's a lot. It's hard to cover everything that's going on, but
right,
I try.
exactly.
I try to cover what is going on in Miami, but also, I get people messaging me from all around the world. That's another reason. The impact of you never know who's going to watch your videos is crazy. I meet people all the time. I'll be at an event and somebody walks up and they're like, "Oh, I've watched your videos. I've seen your interview." I was like, and it's just like it's really cool because you never know like
Yeah.
who's watching your stuff. And I'm talking other media people as well. So, that's when I knew, okay, I'm onto something here because I'm small. And if other media people are watching me, I must be doing something right. You know what I mean? So
I also
and I
think you have a unique look. Like there's not a lot of people that look like you, your style, your
thank you.
visually. Like there's other girls, but they look totally different. Not all the same. So that's you're recognizable, I think. If someone sees you, they, oh yeah, I know who that is. They wouldn't
Well,
say, oh,
also,
is that so and
yeah,
so, or maybe this person looks like her. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I mean, I try to keep that iconic,
Yeah,
old
yeah,
Hollywood, timeless. Like I don't want to. I'm not trying to be. I'm inspired by Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor. Those are the women that I really. If somebody asks me like, who are you inspired by? Like, definitely them. Nothing against women in this time, but there's just something about Marilyn that forever will be someone that I feel inspired through how I look and when like Marilyn Monroe, their page, they're sending me stuff and they're putting me on their page. I mean, that's something I don't take lightly. It's like, wow,
yeah.
respect that. That means a lot for somebody that I didn't get to meet, that's not alive, that I wish I could have interviewed, for example. Uh, I just want to impact the world by interviewing people that are doing big things. And somebody like me from Allentown, Pennsylvania, who was homeless, who's been through all these challenges and circumstances that were out of my control, basically, can be in these rooms with these people like David Feldman, Conor McGregor, Dana White, uh, you name it. That's the story. I think that's the takeaway that people should see. Like somebody like me who looks like me can be in this sports world. And I don't know everything. I just started like a year ago, literally just was thrown into this, but I'm picking up pretty quick. And, for example, this week I'll be at that Jake Paul fight. So who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
I'll meet Jake Paul. That might be the next thing. But you have to be on your A game. When you're at these events, you just got to be ready because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what's going to happen. So I think that's really what separates me from a lot of people is I'm always ready to go. Every day is an opportunity, and I treat it like that. Like for the interview right now, doesn't matter. I'm always ready because life is short. Make it the most. You don't want to look back on life and regret and not do what So I really take it. Uh, I really am grateful for the life that I have, and um, like I said, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning.
Like I saw you on Millions. Let's talk about that. What made you decide to kind of use that platform for some of the stuff you do?
I I'm not currently with them, but I covered some interviews. They were giving me people to interview, which was really cool. Uh, yeah, Millions is a cool app. They have pretty much everybody on there at this point. Uh, I just pretty much they gave me people to interview, and I just, I kind of wanted to get my face out there and kind of learn the sports world. And I'm trying to think, what was the one person I interviewed? It was crazy. You're interviewing people all around the world. I think
Mhm.
was the one guy that it just you'd be talking to somebody in like uh it I don't know, for example, like say Italy or Jamaica, or it's just crazy. You're just talking to whoever they put you on with, and these people have crazy stories, and I relate to them, and I don't judge anybody. That's another thing. I think you have to get into this. You can't judge another person, because you don't pick the life you have. It's just what you make of it. And you hear some really interesting stories on there, and it's hard to I have to, like, as I have to be professional, but also I feel something. I do, for when I connect with these people. Uh, they're fighting for their life. Some of these people, it's not just like a sport. This is their way out. This is their way to have a better life for their family. They can't lose a fight. You know what I mean? It's just like that's their whole life in that moment. So yeah, it's wild.
So tell people kind of wrapping up the interview, kind of tell people like the next event you're going to do is the Jake Paul fight. What do you think people can see like on your platforms that from that?
I will definitely be posting live Wednesday and Thursday of this week, the press conference, the weigh-in. uh, I'm going to try my best to, if I can get an interview with Jake Paul, that would be definitely number one on my list. I will do my best to make that happen. And also, just really be honest with you guys what it's like to be at this press conference for people that can't be there and that would love to be at this in Miami, just giving you the full experience, what's happening. Uh, and, it's take it's whatever you want it to be. People are gonna love it or hate it, but it's entertainment, and I'm bringing it to you live with Shea, exclusive in Miami, Florida. You can watch it on Instagram. I'm going to post on, well, I'll put it on YouTube as well, but just expect a lot of posts and reels that this week, and hopefully Jake Paul with me.
Yeah, Joshua too. He's huge in the UK,
Yeah.
massive. And his promoter is Eddie Hearn, who owns Matchroom.
Yeah.
He's hugely famous. Maybe you could get him too.
Yeah. It will be. I would assume it's probably going to be like what UFC is like. Since I haven't been at a UFC press conference, I don't know. How many people would you say are at a press conference for UFC? Just for curiosity.
Uh, you mean like the actual with the fighters or the
Yes.
one that's just for journalists?
Uh, well, that's open to the public, usually.
The press conference, the actual press conference is usually at an arena. Like I went to the one in Dallas a few years ago when Amanda Nunez fought it was the rematch.
Well, it's probably going to be around. Yeah, it's probably going to be the same,
Uh,
I would think, for this. The way
but
he.
so they had about half the arena corded off. So that whole half was full from the top down. But they had it at a weird time. They had it during the day, I think on a Thursday. They don't, the Friday is the ceremonial weigh-ins. That's not the press conference. Thursday, the press, and they're having it during a work day at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever. So had they not, maybe if they had it at night, they might probably would have got a lot more people in there, but that's just because of their schedule. I guess that's how they have to do it. The guys are cutting weight and whatnot.
I have
Yeah,
a very uh I have a good feeling it's probably gonna be like that. So I'm gonna be there early for
yeah.
sure. It's gonna be crazy, I bet. Yeah.
Now tell people where they can find your platforms like the at.
Sure.
Yeah.
I am on Instagram at Shea Filling, Shea, Shea, Filling, Filling. I'm on YouTube, live with Shea, and TikTok, Shea Filling. You can find me on there. And you know, I'm just trying to get the biggest names and impact the world each interview that I can get. And you never know who's going to be on my show. So it's always going to be something interesting every week. That's the one thing that people always say. They'll say to me, "I never know what you're going to be doing next," because my life it's like you never know. Uh, I mean, I've like I said, I've gotten some people on that and not in a million years that I ever thought I was going to get on. So yes, definitely tune in and be ready for this week because I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna get there early. There's gonna be a lot of action.
Yeah, I love it because you kind of have the enthusiasm of someone who's found the sport, and is kind of as it were someone who's watched it for a long time. Maybe I watch the UFC events. Maybe I'll watch a little bit of this. But when I was younger,
Well, it depends.
We would trade VHS tapes of every event in the world. Do you have this one? I'll mail you this one if you mail me that one. You
Yeah,
know,
that was a
you
good
know.
time. I wish I would have been alive during that time. Honestly, I watched a lot of stuff from back in the day. I'm like, damn, I wish I had been around for that because that it was better. It was better back then. I hate to say that.
No,
It's
no,
not.
I think now is great too in its own way. It's just different, you know, because you can see the events. If you need to, you can see them on YouTube or wherever. If you have the ability to watch that many fights, BKFC, UFC, all this other stuff, you can find it. Um, Back then, like I said, you'd have to, if you didn't have it, like if something happened in Japan, if you knew someone in Japan, you could say,
Mhm,
hey, do you have this on VHS? I'll send you this event from America if you send me that one.
mhm.
That's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
And I used to do it with Dean Thomas, like I was telling you before we went on. Dean Thomas lives in Florida too. And he works for the UFC. And
Everybody's in Florida.
I used to trade tapes with him when he was fighting, and we were both like probably in our 20s, you know. And he came to Hawaii where I was living, so he's been on my show a few times and yeah, so that might
Who do you want on your show that you haven't got on?
I really don't think about it, like I said, like you were asking, how did you find me? I really like to find people that are new or the other stuff I do with two people primarily. James Wormy, who used to be the executive producer of the UFC. Even when the Fertittas first bought it, he did the first 7 shows with them. He worked for Bob Merowitz before that. I do a bunch of shows with him. And this guy Miguel Edarate, who he was a matchmaker for Hook and Shoot, Euphoria, Bodog Fight. Bodog was a big event in Costa Rica. So these are old school guys, and we do a lot of shows together where we talk about the business or maybe some news, you know,
Hmm.
kind of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, yeah, like you said,
Fighters wise, I mean,
like you were saying, the behind the scenes, like that kind of stuff, the stories that you can't, like even for example, last night I was at the Hard Rock and I went to the Mike Tyson. He had like he had an event. It was like a stand up kind of special, and this is for Netflix. They're gonna put it up, but
mm,
obviously, they're gonna probably edit some parts out, and this is live, and but there's certain parts that they're not going to put out there, and it's only the people in the press and other journalists, and the behind the scenes. these moments that you can't get nobody unless you've been there in that moment. Nobody's gonna. There's just certain things that are unique, and uh, you'd have to be there to feel to know it. And I don't know how if I'm making any sense to you, but the whole behind the scenes world, there's so much going on that people don't realize in
Mhm.
these sports and shows, fashion, all that. There's so much behind the scenes you don't realize, and that's another thing that I really love because there's so many little parts and pieces that you take for granted. So you learn a lot being in these situations. And you see with being on all these different productions, you realize, okay, which one do I really like? Which one's the best? That's why I kind of, you know, I haven't been at the UFC, but everybody runs things differently. PFL, EKFC, UFC. Uh, it's interesting, but I will say EKFC is really on a whole other level. Very professional, great people, the fans, great fans. It's on, like I said, Dana White is gonna watch. It's not. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to be mean, but he needs to watch what's going on with them because I think they'll probably take his slot at some point. Yeah.
People I'd like to interview, maybe like,
Because
a
people
Khabib
get
and
comfortable. You get comfortable after a while, just like a restaurant that's been around for how many years. And then there's
yeah.
these people that they don't have social media and they think, oh yeah, everything's great. Yeah, we're good. No, no, no. You gotta watch what's going on because you
Yeah.
might be closed soon. Somebody else might take your spot. So you gotta
I
keep
think
evolving.
like you're asking people I'd like to interview, maybe like, Khabib, Islam, because I lived in a Muslim country when I was younger, so I've kind of, when I hear their other interviews that don't have to do with fighting, they're very thoughtful. They think about what they're going to say,
Yeah.
and they kind of really put a lot of thought into their answers. When it's about other conversations, I heard them talking to some money guys and they're kind of talking about other things. Fighting very little. It was more about life and Khabib especially very philosophical person. You could tell he's really putting thought into what they ask him something, he's thinking about what he's going to say, and how he's going to say it, you know, just
Yeah.
because that's kind of their style. A lot of these Muslims that a lot of them are very educated because they have money. I mean, I know Khabib didn't grow up with money, but I think just because of their religion and stuff, they're very thoughtful about stuff like that. How they approach certain things in life. They put a lot of thought into how they're
Yeah.
going to relay their answers. And that to me, it's pretty interesting when I hear them talk about stuff that, just growing up in their village or, the things they had to do to get to that point. Because I trained with a really great wrestler in Japan. He killed me every time I trained with him. And that's kind of why I like when I see them fight and I see these guys that are real helpless, I can relate to that because that's how I felt training with this guy. Joji Miyabi was his name. And he was a great Greco-Roman wrestler in Japan when I was in the military. And yeah, he could have killed me with his bare hands if he wanted to. But he'd throttle me every time I practiced with easily. And he looked almost like disappointed. Like he'd throw me down and be like, I could see this look of disappointment on his face.
Yeah.
So when I see these guys that are underneath them and they look helpless or they're looking at the referee, like help me, I can relate to it, because that's happened to me. I wanted to be like, I would just want this to be over. This training, I just want it to be over. Get off of me. Let me, let me go somewhere else. You know,
Yeah. No, it's just there's too much determination in there, the will. But it's not out there yet. I'd like to. One other thing I haven't done yet that I want to do. I would like to do a documentary at some point. I am working on finding that right person because I mean, there's a couple people that I've wanted to do it with, but I want to do a documentary on somebody that's up and coming who has an amazing story. Now, obviously, everybody's gonna say, "Oh, there's a lot of that," but really, really do something amazing that will, like what I did with the interview that reached Conor McGregor, that kind of level. We're talking like globally, like, people seeing it. So we'll see. That'll be the next thing on my list.
There was a guy who fought in BKFC maybe before you started covering. His name was Gustavo Trujillo. He was a Cuban fighter. And Lorenzo Hunt's like the face of BKFC. Trujillo killed Hunt, like that easy, and they never let him fight Hunt for the title. Hunt won the title later, but they fought in BKFC and Trujillo just killed him no time flat, like 30 seconds. And, and he was always saying, I want to fight Hunt. I beat this guy. I beat this guy. I beat this guy. They never gave him the fight, and I saw Hunt was doing some signings and stuff out in the lobby or whatever. And he came up to him. He's like, no, you're not a champion. I beat you. You need to give me, but he ended up going off and doing something else, which is unfortunate because I wanted to see him win the title, because he was just so dominant. He was just killing everybody. He was like Mike Tyson, you have to look him up. Gustavo Trujillo is his name. And he'd beat everybody, not even a round. People weren't getting out of the first round with this guy ever.
Wow.
He was like a, Cuban boxer, but he also, had done some MMA and just scary guy too, didn't speak much English. He was
don't mess with
very
him.
interesting. You got to ask Feldman about Gustavo Trujillo. Yeah.
Okay,
He'll
I'll
tell
look
you.
him.
Yeah, for sure.
His name sounds so familiar. I have to look back. I probably follow him, but yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on it. It's really, what I want to get some amazing story out there on a documentary. That's really at some point it's going to happen. I just have to find the right person, that a filmmaker in Miami or whoever. Maybe somebody's watching this. You never know, because like I said, their stories. These people in the BKFC, their stories, crazy, crazy stories. People, you want to watch something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, sorry.
Well, I want to thank you for the time, and everybody make sure to check out Shea's socials, Live with Shea, and she'll be at the Jake Paul fight, Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul, and I'm sure you'll see some crazy stuff there before the fight.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, I can't wait. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. That's all I gotta say. Never know. I think he backed into a Bugatti, or what was the other I think he does some crazy stuff. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. So everybody checking out the interview, I appreciate it. And like I said, check out Shea's socials. You're going to see some stuff from Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua. Until next time, take care.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Virgo Queen here, and you are watching The Todd Atkins Show. Todd has been involved in covering the sport of mixed martial arts since the 1990s while living in Hawaii and Japan. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for future episodes.